Right. And I know some of you guys already jumped on putting your name and your library in the chat, which is awesome. So if you haven't done so already, please do so. And my name is Meredith. I am the Evergreen Circulation Committee Chair. And once again, I apologize for the late start, just trying to get everything that was discombobulated, combobulated. Okay, so we've got the agenda up and we'll go ahead and get started. Does anyone have any public comments for any items that weren't on the agenda? I'm going to go ahead and add one for one that I did not have on there was the update and the issues that we are having with the update. And just to highlight the ones that I am aware of, is the holds list, printing small, issues with barcode not showing. And Diane, you found a bug for that, correct? Oh, you're muted, Diane, still. Dan, you're muted.
Here, is this better?
It is better.
I'm up at one of our branches and my headset's not working here. So anyway, yes, there's a bug for the barcode not showing in the print full grid. And Steve Callender said that there's a patch for that they're going to push through. The problem with the lists printing small, he said that they're having trouble duplicating that where they are. I don't know. The only fix I've found for it is to customize the scale when the print prompt screen comes up, but you can only scale it to like 125%, or else it starts pushing things off the screen. So I'm not sure what we're gonna get with that. You can print it, print a full list, and the barcode is on there. But then the shelving location is in a weird place. I don't know.
Great.
I think they've done a good job addressing issues, considering that we only got the upgrade less than a week ago.
Right. The other one that's going around is the transit slips printing small. There has been some work done on some templates and testing those out. It doesn't appear like Equinox is going to be able to do a global fix for all of us, but that may still be in play. Using my foggy memory, we made a global adjustment to those when we were addressing the privacy concerns and making sure every library was on the same page about not having patron data on them. So we did it globally at that time. My fear is if we don't do it globally, then we're going to still have people that are having the issue that don't necessarily have the knowledge base on staff to be able to make those kind of adjustments. So I'll keep plugging at that and let you guys know what progress happens there.
Hey, Meredith, this is Rhonda. It did not affect our transit things at all at Cass County. So I might try and connect Stephen, our tech guy, with you, because maybe there's something that we had done that would help. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. And even if I can just get the HTML templates for the good ones off of them, then we can be able to share those and make it easier. I've got a file from Equinox, but it's that JSON import templates. And to me, it's easier to just do the straight HTML because you can see what you're doing as opposed to the other.
Hey, Meredith.
Our transit slips weren't affected either.
Oh, okay. Are you guys both hatched or not hatched?
Hatch, yes.
We are Hatch.
Okay, and we are not, and that may be a piece that's in play with it as well.
That's what I was just going to say, Meredith, because I don't think we're having the problem at Northwest, and we use Hatch and you guys don't. So that may be the issue.
Okay. with it. And I was able to adjust ours to get it back close to what we remembered it looking like by doing the HTML formatting. So it may be an issue that if you're Hatch, you're golden. If you're not, then we'll have to just replace that that template with
Well,
the HTML.
I hate to throw a bug into that, but we're not using Hatch and we have no problems with our templates. So that theory doesn't always hold true.
Well, it's good. It's good to know before we go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Meredith, can I add a small thing to, I would, at least at Cass County, when you put a note on a patron's account, remember how there used to be that little orangish box up there showing notes? That is not showing up on ours.
Miss Allen.
It does show up at the top with the number of notes, but it doesn't have that little icon there anymore, at least for us.
The icon being in the text thing on the left, not the stop
Right,
sign.
right, by the
Okay.
patron's name.
Okay.
Pretty small
That's
thing,
the
but
result.
it's easy to miss notes that way.
Okay.
I have a thought on that, and that's because everything is now under the notes. So I think that if they were to bring that back, it's going to show whatever the notes are.
Oh, 8,000.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think maybe that's their thinking, is that you don't, if it would just show our, personal notes, then that would be amazing. But
Right.
I don't think it's going to do that, since they've condensed everything.
Okay.
So you just have to click on the notes field and sort. to
Yeah.
see.
Can I ask a question? Are you talking about like if you were to go into a patron's account under the edit screen and type a note and it would show up in the top left-hand corner? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, under the patron's name.
Okay. If you want it to do that, you have to make sure and use the type alert.
Alert.
And then
Oh,
it still truncates it to whatever the title of said alert is, but the full note should show in the main screen when you open the patron's account.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
Oh,
It's going to
okay.
be- I mean, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
but
sorry.
That's okay. It was a little orange box, and however many notes that we had written, it would say note 7, and then you'd click on that, and then it would bring up the notes that we have written on that patron's account.
And those were notes written with using the other tab way at the end.
Correct,
Right.
And
correct,
that doesn't exist anymore, so.
correct. I mean, it was something that we used all the time, but now we just have to go to the notes tab, so to speak, to get those notes and sort to get our notes.
Yeah, we've never used notes necessarily too much. We've always used the make it an alert, so that way you have to then clear that message. For instance, Joe can use Karen's card to pick up her books, something like that. That's an alert. That way, whoever's getting into that count immediately gets that information instead of having to try and search for it under a note. Notes often got overlooked for us. So we pretty much just started that practice quite a while back, making everything an alert. Now, if there's some other kind of note that needed to be handled differently, we would do that. But mostly we use alerts, and I'm hopefully everybody will stay with that practice of making it an alert. I don't necessarily like that there's a title for it and then there's a body of that, but that it seems like and all those alerts that we had in the past are now doubled because it put it in the title and then it put it in the note part. So I'm slowly kind of going through and fixing the ones that if I have a patron, I go in there and kind of modify that. But yeah, we use alerts more than we use notes because I want people to see it and acknowledge it before they move on with that patron.
And I love that there's a place for a title and then for the whole message. The patrons that are always requesting things, we can put item requested, and then we can put the title, and when we sent it to Collections Development and all that stuff in the message spot without having all that red underneath the patron's
That's a
name.
good point, Diane. Yeah, we have not in the past used it for that, and I can see where that would be a definite plus for you.
Or even descriptions of something that's damaged. You can just put damaged item in the title, and then you can put the barcode and what library it belonged to and where the item is now and all that in the text part. And we're like you, Krista. We never did use notes under other. But we did create notes for things like, this patron's already been forgiven for a damaged item, so don't forgive it again. But pet staff know to look for a note, but not have that as an alert, so it comes up every time the patron's account is accessed.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm also
differently.
concerned with the fact that it has that box in there to make it patron visible, because most of our notes are for our usage, not for the patron to know about. So I'm treading very lightly moving forward with that, with our staff on, make sure you don't click that box, because we don't, they don't need to know all the information that we know. So it's, what is needed to be for patron visible and what's not. Like I read in one of the release notes or whatever, the suggestion of making, Diane left her umbrella at the library kind of thing would be a patron visible note, but that's few and far between. I'd rather that be a rare occurrence instead of an everyday occurrence.
This has been a great discussion, and it's always, if anything pops up after the meeting, you're like, oh shucks, I should have mentioned that. Use the email list to have that conversation going, and it's nice to know that we're all in this same boat together, trying to sort out these changes. Okay,
Meredith, if I could say one more thing under public
Sure.
comments.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've mentioned many, many times, and I really, really get tired of mentioning it. But, and we were doing great for a couple of months, but I'm starting to get through the courier items that are supposed to go to Rogersville again versus coming here, and people using old Webster County Library labels that don't have the dash Marshfield or the dash Rogersville. So like I say, I hate to have to bring that up every couple of months, but I don't know what else to do with it except be the squeaky wheel sometimes. So sorry about that, but if you could have your staff take care when they're packing their items for one or the other. It's confusing, I know, but it just takes a few seconds to pay attention. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. And I can put a link again in the minutes to where you go to download those new labels with it too.
And I guess that's what's so confusing to me is that, we get those updated label links all the time, and yet I'm still getting old labels. So I don't know if it's just old labels that nobody's thrown away, even though I've begged, please throw them away, or, how they're getting them. But I don't know. I kind of feel like taking a trip around the state and pulling all their labels. but
as a person who does not get those, because that's not in my workflow,
yeah.
Do those come to like a listserv, or do they come to just like a group of people? Is it able to tell?
Mala, when Mala sends out a newsletter, they'll put a link on whether or not there's new labels posted, especially when we have a new library join the consortium and they go live, then those labels have been updated. Or like I know several libraries like Cedar County, I believe it was, who had an address change, and so they sent on an email. So it's paying attention, the right person seeing the email that prints the labels. So
okay, and I can add information about that, making sure that people are on the Mala listserv too, and that might be where some of the balls get
that would
dropped
be great.
too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Krista, can you identify the libraries that are sending things with the wrong label and contact them directly?
I have contacted many libraries directly many times. I have put it on the listserv, hey, these libraries keep sending me stuff. I've emailed, I've called people directly and said, hey, just so you know, but and I understand that accidents happen on, when we pack. I make accidents whenever I pack or whatever. But it doesn't feel like it's a big deal on someone else's side when they're packing a couple of items wrong. But when I'm getting 20 items wrong, then that's a big deal on my side of things. So I just need people to, understand that, yeah, it's a deal. It's not the worst deal in the world, but those little mistakes add up to a lot of mistakes for our patrons on this side of the world.
Yeah, definitely. We want to make sure that we can get everything where it goes in as timely as a fashion as possible. Okay, going on to the new business. Rhonda from Cass County has kindly, wonderfully accepted taking over the chair position on starting on July 1st. As I've got a lot of other commitments, unfortunately, that are pulling away at my timing. So I wanted to make sure to put this committee in good hands with someone with a strong passion for it. So I think Rhonda will be great to lead it forward, and I will not disappear. I'll still be around to be able to participate and be boots on the ground as needed. So thank you, Rhonda. July. Okay. And then the courier bid process is ongoing. Mickey, I saw that you were on the call. I didn't know if you wanted to maybe touch briefly on that.
Nope.
Yes, I am here. I'm sorry. One more time, Meredith. What was your question again?
I know from the other discussions at the higher level that the courier bid process is ongoing. I just wondered if you might be able to take a moment to just give like a general for where that is at, just because I know everybody here kind of has a vested interest in that process.
You're talking about the statewide courier, Henry Industries.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any new information other than what Jane shared with me in our last meeting. I do have another meeting coming up with Jane and with the state library rep, Janet Brothers, but I don't have any new information other than to tell you that they had limited response to the courier bid that they put out. And that my guess, and this is again just a guess, is that for reasons of affordability, we'll be continuing with Henry Industries as our main courier vendor. If that's the case, then I would assume that you all have your concerns around your particular issues on your routes, and I would just encourage you to keep in close contact with Jane during whatever transition occurs, to keep Mala informed of any questions you have, any problems you have, particularly with your route drivers. I believe the announcement of the bid acceptance for a new courier or existing courier will be made before the end of the month. So keep tuned.
Okay, great. Thank you. I knew wheels were in motion there.
Indeed.
If you look at the Mala newsletter that came out on Friday, Jane's got a full explanation of the price increases and all of that in her newsletter.
Oh, thank you, Ron. I missed that. Thank you so much. So is it official? Is Henry going to be our continuing courier vendor?
Let me get back to that email.
Yes,
Yes,
I thought that's what I read, that it was going to be Henry, and that Henry understands what the issues were, and yeah, I
Right.
thought the decision was
Yep.
made.
All right, Pam. Thanks. Pam says it's official. So, well, there you go. Continue to keep Henry's feet to the fire. I think it's important for those of you who do experience courier issues on your routes. We really have heard from Jane, and she said, you've got to communicate your issues so that I can take them to Henry. This is a really good time at the beginning of a new process like this, where we've accepted a higher stop rate from Henry, that we can really have expectations raised a bit. And so I would encourage you to reach out to Mala and to keep them informed of your concerns if you have any on your routes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. And that shows the importance of that newsletter again as well. One of the other things that came up, and I think that came from you, Diane, if you wanted to speak to a little bit, the suggestion to add, including the number of discs on the AV box to the CERC best practices document. I know it's been back and forth about putting it into the system, and we've left that as a library choice. This suggestion is just basically to document somewhere on the packaging how many discs should be in it.
Yeah, it would just be really nice that you didn't have to try to look on the back of the box, and even on the back of the box, it might not be what's actually inside the box, because the notes aren't always the same as what's in the box. But anyway, yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes how many discs are supposed to be in a box, especially a DVD box that's got extra tabs, to hold a disc. And so staff opened the box and it's got 2 discs in there, but it's supposed to have 3. And then it goes on down the line. We had that happen this month, that we sent it on to another library, and lo and behold, all the discs weren't in there. So if everybody would just write somewhere how many discs are in an audiobook or in a DVD box, it would be very helpful.
Or if there's a DVD included in a book for a children's book, sometimes I overlook that if it doesn't pop up, you know.
Right. So could this committee make that recommendation to the membership to write it in there somewhere?
Yeah, I think if we take a motion and get a second and go forward. So Diane, are you making that motion?
I am making that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and who was the second? Sorry.
Rhonda.
Okay, awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, sounds like the ayes have it.
With that, Meredith, it's really easy to put alerting messages on for checking in and checking out how many discs are on that or in a particular audiobook or DVD. So instructions for how to do that might be helpful.
Yeah, I just know, speaking for my library system, which may just be us with it too, that it can be annoying during the check-in process to have to click through all those extra boxes, since everything pretty much is a multi-DVD set. So we do have the stickers and stuff on the items with it too, but definitely are refreshing people on that too as a good option is useful.
I think in this case, more information or more ways to double check that is better than not having enough. I would rather be prompted by a note that's inside the case and by a note that pops up on the screen. I think that would just help out immensely.
Okay. I can take that recommendation forward, and I will look at the best practices document and share with the committee some language there that we can formalize that recommendation. On the strict barcode update, there was discussion on the listserv, so I just put it on here as a placeholder. If you're getting that error and said about the barcode not working, there is a checkbox that needs to be unchecked that says strict barcode, and that there was a bug that was gone through for that as well. So that discussion's on the listserv on how to solve that. On the old business, I'll let Diane talk about the patron permissions since she was working as the point person on that.
Actually, we're going to let, yes, the permission groups. Yes, I think today Dale at Equinox is going to add the institution permission group. And I asked him to give us a little extra time so I could contact the libraries that were using county students to change those on the accounts that were currently still active. Let them change it themselves if they wanted to, and let them know that it was going to be changed to patrons if they did not. There were only, a handful of libraries, even less than a handful of libraries that still had some patrons that had county students on it. There were a lot of inactive accounts, well, not inactive, but expired accounts that had it on there that I don't think it will affect anybody if we just change that to patrons. So you should see that change by tomorrow. The institution will now be a permission group and county students will not. The libraries that I contacted all said, oh gosh, I don't know how that happened in the first place. And I know how it happened. You're standing at the desk and you have this long list of permissions and you think you click on one and you clicked on another. So I think that'll be all cleared up by today or tomorrow.
Wonderful, thank you. And I know that was a lot of work getting all that sorted. So we very much appreciate all your efforts for that.
You're welcome. The aha wonderful moment was when Equinox said, you can limit what your staff sees. That just solved the whole thing for me.
Oh, exactly. And you never know until you keep peppering people with questions what you'll find out.
Right.
The other thing I had in my notes, and I don't know if Diane, if you know where it landed, I didn't have a conclusion, where you had talked about the Spanish translation for the catalog. And we had kind of talked offline with some others about being able to implement changes without having to go through the whole rigmarole to the benefit of all. Did that land on that actually happening, or do I need to still pursue that further?
I think we voted on that the last meeting we had here and said, yes, we were going to recommend it to the membership.
Okay,
I totally forgot.
okay,
And so it just didn't come up at the last membership meeting. So I think
Okay.
that's what we need to do at the next membership meeting.
okay, awesome. Yeah, I had unclear notes for where it was at with it too. Okay, so I'll make that note. The other thing I had pending in the notes was further documentation. We had talked about the hold shelf delay in offline circ. I will freely admit that this fell off my radar, but I worked on the offline circ one this morning in customizing the Georgia Pines documentation. So I sent that out this morning. So if you guys can take a look at that, if you have the time to test it out, see if you see any flaws and give me some feedback, that would be great. And we can talk about that at the next meeting to formalize it, but it's out there in the ether if the world falls apart between now and then and we need offline circ. And I'll work on the hold shelf delay one. Sure. Draft. Sure. Email for feedback. Hold shelf.
Hey, Meredith, a few weeks ago, I did a quick informal check with offline circ with our membership, and I probably talked to 10 or 12 different libraries. Not a single one of them said that they used offline circ. So I'd just like to ask the committee if you are aware of any library that does use offline circ on a regular basis.
We do here. I always tell the staff, let the ILS do the work. So that's what we do. Occasionally, though, something is not the offline circ isn't working, and then staff will use an Excel sheet.
Yeah,
to
yeah. So
scan
Scenic
barcodes.
uses it. Diane, Scenic does use it regularly. Then when offline occurs.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else that you know of?
Cass
We-
County occasionally does if it's-
Occasionally. Okay.
Right, if we think it's going to be a longer downtime, our tech people will have us switch to offline, otherwise we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's only down for like 10, 15 minutes, then we just use a Word document and scan them because but you can enter the transactions manually by the time you do the offline search stuff.
Exactly.
We
Okay.
use it at Carthage.
Carthage. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And there was so many problems with it early on that I think it's made a lot of people very gun shy with it that have not dipped back into it a long time, which is partially us as well.
I've heard that as well. Thank you. That's really useful.
Yes, Meredith, we're on that same bandwagon of we're just a little too gun shy for it. And we haven't jumped off that cliff. We've got I printed off your documentation that you sent this morning, and it's on my to-do list for reading. And I gave it to my tech guy also to read. And so we'll hopefully be able to wade into that water a little slowly from here on.
Okay, great. And definitely if anybody who does pursue that documentation, if you see issues or things that need to be adjusted for clarity, feel free to send me that feedback. It's a living document and we'll adjust as it goes.
Will do.
Thanks for getting it out there, Meredith.
Sure, yeah. And the other thing we had pending was the hold fulfillment working group. And I didn't know if anything had gone on there. I just a placeholder for the fact the group exists, and we'll take that project forward when time permits. And that was about the routing for like, does your book go home to serve your people before it goes off to serve other people where it lives, and those kind of controls. So work in progress. We do still have a committee member opening, so I just keep raising that flag for if they're interesting. I did get a feeler from one library, so if they follow through, we may have somebody for it, but that was still in motion. Okay, did anybody else have anything other that they wanted to bring forward to the group while we're here? Or did you think of something from what we talked about earlier that we need to pad back in?
Has Shannon or Mickey said anything about the circulation committee having regional trainings? I know it was much more imperative for the catalogers to do that, to get the certifications done. But we had talked about the circulation staff also getting together regionally and going over circulation.
Yes, that conversation is still going on. I think, as you know, we have a fairly significant board turnover at the end of June. I think Shannon's probably up to her eyebrows right now, just trying to complete some old business. And so we have had that on our discussion list a couple of different times, Diane. And I would think that one of the things that'll help make that happen is if we hear more from the community at large, not just this committee, but also other members of Missouri Evergreen saying, hey, you know, we'd love to have some kind of a regional training for circulation matters. And I think that if you will let your board members know that, we can light a fire under it and add some heat, as it were, right, to that bug and see if we can't get it going. So thank you for raising that issue. I think it's a great idea. I'm 100% behind it. I would expect if we get it done, it's going to be in the summer or after summer months before we can actually put something on the books.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then someone who has a calendar that would not accidentally share their whole life if they do the screen share, can you let me know when our next meeting is? I always forget what the date is. I can pull it up on my phone.
Is it the 3rd or the 4th Tuesday?
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's the 24th
1, 2,
of
3,
May.
4. Okay, so our next meeting is May 24th at 11 a.m. 24th at 11 a.m. Okay. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring forward? If not, we'll do a going once, going twice. Thank you guys very much for your time this morning. And like I said, if things come to mind or you experience some more issues or concerns with the upgrade, feel free to bring those forward in the listserv and we'll try and see what we get action. If I get any feedback on some of the stuff that we've brought up today, I'll make sure to share it out with the world at large. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Meredith.
Have a good day.
Bye.